So now I've watched all the movies in the Twilight Saga. They were, not very good. It's a love triangle story about a girl who falls in love with a vampire and also likes a werewolf. The main character, Bella, goes through some big time suffering emotionally and physically in order to be with the Edward guy, and she hides everything from her father the whole time, and these problems are never adequately addressed. The acting is not the best, the visuals are decent and stylized, and the effects are pretty goofy at times. The sounds and music are fine, but not the most memorable though. Like if somebody asked you to hum a music bit from one of the Twilight movies, you wouldn't necessarily know it off the top of your head. A lot of the characters are similar to each other or one-dimensional. Bella is more interesting than you might think since she's unremarkable, but everybody treats her like she's really cool and awesome and pretty for some reason. The Jacob guy is angry a lot and gets a weird fascination with a baby towards the end. The Edward guy has the personality of a wet blanket. Bella's dad is super awkward. Bella's mom is just a mom and only shows up when the story feels like having her around. All the other characters can be described by who they are to other people, but they don't really have personalities. Carlisle is Edward's dad. Alice is Edward's sister who has visions. James is a bad guy. Victoria is another villain, etc. There's a lot of talk about the threat of vampires being exposed and humans knowing about them and what that would mean, but they never explore that in these movies. They talk about it over and over, but the whole series goes by without that happening. I think movies and TV shows need to explore whatever it is that people are really scared of in a given situation. It feels like the story is incomplete without doing that. But the one thing that really needs to be talked about, even more than it already has been, is that these movies are not a good representation of a healthy relationship. The characters are constantly making excuses for bad stuff that happens to Bella, or Bella having to do bad things in order to stay with a guy who does not communicate well and puts her in physical danger multiple times. Just because a lot of characters support a couple does not mean that couple is good for each other. There's also something disturbing about how these movies basically say it's okay for Bella to not only avoid communicating with her family about major life decisions, but for her to lie to her parents about what is going on to the very end. She basically gets tricked into joining a vampire cult and changing her life forever and abandoning her family in order to do that. And the movies say, yeah, that's great, since she's in love with this guy who's 100 years older than her. Yikes. So these movies are obviously not for kids, and I recommend that people of all ages stay away from them in general.